Hi, I'm Carolyn.
And I'm Hannah.
And we're two sisters who love handcrafting and figuring things out.
Well, hello. Happy New Year. It is 2025, 45 squared.
45 squared. Mm-hmm.
And Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year.
We are filming here on Saturday, January 4th. We've had visitors in town and we've just had a glorious vacation.
It's been a great winter break. We go back to school on Monday.
One of those things, once you're back, you're like, oh yeah.
I know, but it is hard getting back. Oh, I forgot to turn off my notifications. Well, we'll be seeing stuff coming in. All right. So for this episode, we have another kind of special episode here. What we're going to do is first, we're going to be celebrating 2024 and going through all of our FFOs and FOs of the year. It was awesome getting ready for it. And then we want to look ahead to 2025 and talk a little bit about our plans for the upcoming year. And then we're going to be doing a whip parade, maybe either
in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
something like that.
Maybe the next episode or the episode after that.
Yeah. I feel like the camera's wiggling. Is the camera wiggling? Is the ironing board touching the table? Maybe not. Maybe it's my imagination.
No, we're wiggling. There we go. I know we have a really
This wiggling.
advanced setup. We have just a little like table here and then an ironing board with a tripod.
It's perfect.
It works. It's a good height. It's good.
It's our practical Pennsylvania Dutch heritage.
Use what you have on hand. Anna, talk a little bit about the sale that's going on that you're participating in.
Yes. So this pattern came out at the end of last year. It is Quaker Christmas Stocking and Sampler by Kathy Barrick. And Annie of XO, Needle in the Hay, XO, is hosting a sale for this. And she is giving assignments about every 2 weeks. And she's started a blog type thing. She's announcing on Instagram. It's spelled KO-FI. I think it might be pronounced coffee.
Does she have a link to it in her profile?
Yes.
Okay, so that's probably the best. So I'll put her Instagram handle down here for those to go find her on Instagram.
She is stitching both the stocking and the sampler.
She's doing both.
Yeah, so I think she started in slightly different places so that she has a little variation herself. And 2 assignments are out. It would be very easy to jump in if you still want to jump in. Mm-hmm. And the goal is to be done by December 1st of this year. I was going to say next year, this year of 2025. And I'm just enjoying it, and I'm enjoying the way she's rolling it out. And I don't have any sense of how many people are participating, but jump in if you're at all interested or tempted. I'm doing this one. It's just so long and thin. It's fabulous.
Yeah. And I'm going to jump in late too because I didn't have my fabric yet. I ended up getting 40 count because I think I can fit it on a stitcher's quarter of that. And that's what I've ordered. So I'm going to be jumping in late. I'm also going to be starting from the top and going down. So I'm going to try to break up and do the same thing, kind of assignment, the same idea, but I'm going to be doing
for yourself.
A slightly different thing. I think it's a great idea.
The sampler start, the way Annie's leading it, is right in here. So I'm working on that basket, starting that quickly.
Do you want to quickly share your findings with the chart and the scale?
I'll do it next time.
Okay, we'll talk about it more.
Because I didn't bring it in a...
Great.
Yeah, we'll do this.
Awesome. Okay. So let's go ahead. Without much more ado, we want to get into our celebrating of 2024. So Anna, 2024
was a good year.
And looking ahead to 2025, I have my Christmas bag that I'm about to pack away. It was over Thanksgiving. My daughter-in-law and granddaughters went to Target. It was raining one day and we spent like an hour or 2 hours just roaming around the big Target in Sunnyvale. Got myself a Christmas mug there.
Oh. Doesn't the little nose on the penguin
Yeah, it does.
irritate you?
Yeah, Brooke really liked, there was a cat, and she almost got the cat, but then when she went to like pseudo drink, she's like, wait, the ears are going to be hitting me. I'm like, well, I'm going with the penguin. And then the first time I went to drink, like the nose is sticking out. But now I know how to go from the side.
Okay. Well, cheers to a fruitful stitching, year of stitching.
Yes.
And lots of fun ahead for all of us.
Okay. All right.
Jumping in.
We're jumping in. What we're going to be doing is we're going to go more or less in sequential order from January through December of 2024. And what we're going to do when I edit, if I'm a good girl, for each piece, I'm going to put the title, the designer, and then what episode you can go back if you want to find more details. We're not going to give you all the details about the linen and the stitching. We're going to show it, show the pattern, and then try to share one thing that we remember or was important to us about that piece.
Yeah, that feels about right.
On.
And I realized I forgot to say the hashtag for that Quaker South. Maybe you could put it on the bottom of that too. I'll just say it now. It is KB for Kathy Barrick, KB Swan Quaker Sal.
SAL.
And you know what? I've been able to follow that hashtag. I know there was information about you will no longer be able to follow an Instagram hashtag, and maybe that just hasn't stopped yet.
And are you seeing a variety of posts from that?
Yeah, so far. So I don't know if that's about to end or if something has changed in that thinking.
And I should also say for our celebration of 2024, some of these things we may have stitched in a previous year, but if we got it framed or FFO'd it in this year, we're including it in that.
So finishes and fully finished.
All right, so my first one, and I don't have the pattern because there was never, when I had it, a photo of it, and it is the Evertoad Holiday Countdown from 2023, but I FFO'd it in 2024. So here is my finished piece. One thing that was really striking to me about this piece is I loved following along day to day. I picked my own floss and was that thrill every morning. I'd wake up, I'd watch Caroline's Vlogmas video, pick my floss, and I kept up with it day to day. So missed it this year, and I'm going to definitely be on it next year. So that's my tile finish. Holiday Countdown 2023.
Next is a baby blanket that I knit for my youngest granddaughter. So she has it. I can't quite help myself from knitting a baby blanket for a new baby, but of course babies don't sleep with blankets in their cribs for, I don't know until what age, but
maybe 2.
It'll get used somehow, some way.
For sure.
Really pretty color.
Any good memory or anything from that?
I mean, it's just, of course, just making something for a new baby is one way that I like to celebrate a birth.
Awesome. Great. All right. Oh, we should be saying, I'll have put it in the bottom, but the Holiday Countdown episode 44 would have a lot of details, and Anna's baby blanket was also in episode 44.
I finished Bell 1856, a Quaker Fancy. I just did this Quaker side, not the alphabet side. And this is what it looks like.
Oh, do you want me to go get my board?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And I'm going to finish it as a tile finish, and all the pieces of the tile have been ready for a really long time. This is the back of it. I just need to lace it. There are even lacing lines see the light green thread around it?
Oh, yes.
Like it's all ready to go. It's sort of one of those things that, like, should I just do this when I get home tonight?
Yes. You should. Awesome.
And I just loved stitching a Quaker design, and I also really, really like fabric. And I like thinking of ways to combine something more modern with something very traditional.
Hold up the piece next to the fabric just to get a feel.
This is cloister cream. I just think that's going to look so fabulous. It's
Really
for my
good.
daughter, who is going to like the more modern things more than the traditional things.
It's going to be beautiful. And details for that one is in episode 44. Next up is Pretty Bird by the Artsy Housewife. And you can find details about this one in episode 45. And here is that piece.
And when you think of this piece?
When I think of this piece, I know I've mentioned this before, but I just think of all the women, creative women that went into it. The Artsy Housewife for designing it, Carrie of Roxy Floss Co. for dyeing the Floss and Jody of Cedar River Linens for dyeing the linen. I think that was her linen. Yes, it was. So, Pretty Bird by the Artsy Housewife.
That's awesome. It's one of my favorite of Gigi's patterns.
It was really a winner.
Last year I had an idea of stitching a basket from a larger chart about every other month and then having a bowl full of baskets at the end of the year. And I only did a few. But I might do more.
Yeah.
So the first one I did was a basket, or this flower pot from Katrin and William. It's a modern folk embroidery pattern. So just this part. And I stuffed it with a combination. This is what I think of when I think of this. Well, first of all, I like making a plan. But this has a combination of walnut shells and lavender, and it smells really good. And William Morris fabric on the back. So I really like finishing smalls. I think I like doing that more than I like framing at this point. And thinking about how am I going to stuff it, what fabric's going to go on
Okay, so you mean by smalls, you're thinking about like a pillow finish versus like a tile.
Like a little Christmas ornament or something.
Yeah, that was really successful.
So far, this is standing alone.
In your basket full of berries, bowl full of baskets. Is that what it is? Bowl full of baskets. My next is an FFO. I haven't fully finished it. And I finished these kind of over the course of the year. And this is Reindeer Games by Brenda Gervais. And I have all of the supplies to fully finish it. And that will be done by next Christmas. And here are my, put a little backdrop on it. There's the first one. I think the second one is my favorite. I think it's because of the sweater. And then this one I just finished a few days ago. Right before Christmas. And that was, I think one thing I liked about this, I enjoyed getting the full kit that has all the ornament finishes. And I love the idea that I was going to stitch it last year and have it all ready to go to give in 2024 as Christmas presents to people. But it's just going to be in 2025. And that will be an interesting thinking about. I've never finished something that's round, so lacing on a circle.
And do you have to paint the wood?
Oh, yep. I have the paint. I already ordered that. And yep, so I'm going to be painting the wood and putting on the rickrack. So that's going to be a lot of new skills for me. So I'm excited about that. All right, Reindeer Games. All right, the next one. Did you bring your pattern for Fredericka?
It must be here. I forgot to look. I forgot to get that out.
Yeah, we don't have it here. So Anna and I had done companion pieces, Frederick and Fredericka. Here's Frederick. And we stitched these to honor our Pennsylvania Dutch mother and have since gifted them, and they are being hung at a farmhouse in Delaware. So here's a photo of the two finishes. We got them framed this year. And then here's a photo, hopefully I was able to find it, of them in their final hanging place.
I think I have it on my phone somewhere.
I think you do too.
Okay.
And it was fun. This is where we had our family wedding in October, and it was really, really fun to see them on the wall there.
Do you know that I never saw them? I didn't look.
Oh, you never went in and saw them?
I forgot.
They looked really good. They looked really good.
And Carolyn and I each wrote a note on and glued it onto the back of the sampler, or the paper on the back of the framing. Just with some observations and some appreciations about our mother.
And you can see more details of them framed and us talking about them in episode 45. And I'll have been hopefully running these along the bottom too, so if we don't say them. Okay. My next was my New Year's Day start last year. And it is Peace on Earth by Lottie Da. And I also finished this as a tile.
Oh, look at those original colors.
Yeah. They're in the back, and I did my own silk conversion. And to find out more details about this, it's in episode 49. And this one I have up on the dish cabinet that separates our kitchen from our living room, and it's facing the kitchen, and I just look at it every day and love it. And I think one thing that I love about this, it was really fun doing my own silk conversion. And I just like that sentiment, let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. It's a good sort of daily reminder for me.
Was this one of the first ones where you did the backing a little smaller than the front?
And I did a cardboard backing on this. I'm actually really happy with how that turned out.
How do you decide whether or not to put a layer of batting on your board for the front?
I think I do. I think I forgot to on this one. This one doesn't.
Oh, so you usually do.
I usually do. I also wonder, because I was putting a second board in, if I did not do my batting so that it would fit in here.
Okay.
I can't remember, but I think I almost always put batting in unless I forget. Probably all those details I can't remember. I probably talked about in episode 49.
Maybe. And you do one layer of mat board? See, I do 2 layers of mat board and batting. Is that how Vonnegut taught us for flat folds?
I have to go back and look. I don't know. Well, flat folds you're going to naturally get 2. I also have been using this mat board that I got at Michael's, and I don't think I would think I want to use something slightly thicker, because sometimes, and I'm also a little bit of a tense lacer, I feel like things bow just a little bit if I don't put the second.
I think that's why I'm putting 2.
The second board on
To avoid that.
like just to pull this out. I know we weren't going to talk about too much, but
yeah.
This one just
can't help
has
asking
some
questions.
wool on the back, and I do think you can see it's slightly bowed.
Oh, sure is.
Yeah, like that. So,
Okay.
to explore my materials a little bit more. Okay. Next up is Pennsylvania marking sampler, and this is one I designed, and it's in a precursor for a big piece I'm going to be actually working on this year. And my alphabet and motifs were things I got out of the samplers of Pennsylvania Germans, this amazing book that's really the reference book on Pennsylvania Dutch samplers. It's incredible. If you have any interest, I highly recommend this book. And here is the marking sampler. I finished it, and all details about this you can find in episode 49. And I have it just as a soft finish with this was my first time I did a hem stitch, because I envision it, kind of I have it just displayed out, but just the idea of rolling it up, because I'll be using, this is my set alphabet I'll be using in my bigger piece.
And let's insert the photo of one of your grandgirls. Use this as a blank.
That's later in the video.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Really cute photo.
Foreshadowing. I think one thing I love about this piece is it was so fun for me going through all of the samplers and deciding what's the A I'm going to use, what's the B, what are my letters. And they were actually pretty consistent with the alphabets that they picked, but it was just like a fun journey through history to just kind of think about, okay, if I'm going to be consistent with their alphabets, what should the letters be like?
You did a lot of thinking.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
My second basket is Sarah's basket, and this pattern is a Chessie and Me pattern, and you can get the pattern for just the basket, or it's out of a large. There's some doodads around that bigger basket, but there's also a larger sampler that this is part of.
Didn't you and Trisha stitch this at the same time?
That's what I was going to say. When I think of this piece, that's what I think of is like, I think I DM'd Trisha Preb 409, 408. Am I saying 409? Because
we'll put it right here. We all know
because
her.
I'm a little bit shy. It's like I felt a little shy to DM someone and say, "Hey, you want to do this?" But we did. And I think the reason I haven't fully finished this, when I also think of this, doing any sort of lattice work is something that is hard for me. This basket is lattice, and I tend to want to do them on a diagonal. And because these are over dyed, I couldn't block this. And my basket was like, when it was done. And there's a piece of me that wants to do that basket again. I know you said to me, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
It's part of the learning. I'll probably clip the linen or something, but there is a piece of me that wants to apply what I've learned. I'm going to go across instead of diagonal to this piece.
And it's also an interesting thought about if you really feel like you're going to need to block something, thinking about the materials that you'll use for that.
I feel like I've learned a lot about. I've had some things run this year, just even with ironing. So I'm learning more about, do I want to take the risk on this, or am I going to use mostly truly color fast products? Yeah, materials.
All right, the next two for me were kind of Bam Bam sweaters that I knit for 2 granddaughters, and they are the Anker's Jacket by Petite Knit, and here is the pattern that I used. And here is a photo of the first sweater. And what I really love about this sweater is I took this grandchild at the time. She wasn't even 4 yet. Okay, so she was getting close to 4, and I let her pick buttons, and these were the buttons she picked, and I was like, okay, what your child picks is what you're sewing on. And you can find more details about this in episode 48. And then I had so much fun knitting it and liked the yarn so much, I knit one for my younger local granddaughter, and here's the photo for that one. And I love this one. Memory of it is I reversed the yoke. So what you see on the outside for the yoke here, I put it on the inside. It had a really great texture on the outside. So they were slightly different. I also love the first one I showed you gets worn almost every day. And the second one also gets worn a lot, but the grandchild that got the first one wears pretty much a hand knit sweater every day.
It's beautiful.
So I love that when the sweaters really get worn. Okay. Next.
So the next one is fully finished. It is framed BH. What's it called?
BH 1820.
I forgot to pull a pattern.
Do you remember when you stitched it?
Yes, because I put a signature.
Oh, Anna!
2023.
So it was stitched in 2023, but then you sent it to a framer.
We sent our birds to L&M framing,
yeah.
And then this was the second thing I sent to L&M framing.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, is it fun to get choices over text.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think of this, I think of us learning some of the meanings of some of the very popular designs, including this one, which we were joking is a water bud, but
we now know a lot more. It's like
a heart. A lot of symbolism to it.
Mm-hmm.
Queenstown Sampler.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Barbara,
she
helped us learn.
Mm-hmm.
Oopsie. Okay.
All right, the next one is Songbird Sampler by Artful Offering. And this was my first sampler that I ever stitched, and I stitched it for Anna. And so I stitched it, I think I finished it in 2021, and I used the Country Sampler conversion, but just got it framed this year. And also this went to L&M framing. And details about this, first we showed the FFO, the finished stitch in episode 1.
So you did this really early on.
This was my my first sampler. So probably like my 3rd or 4th piece that I finished. But it was just framed this year, so we're counting that as an FFO. And I love just thinking about, when I think about this, is what difference color makes, and how, as we're looking at patterns, we're often drawn to the color, but just knowing we can always change color ourselves. And I also love this because I took a photo of this piece, and that's our little logo, our Curious Crafters logo.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. 2 little birds.
Hangs in my guest room. It's sort of a low height, so with your cozy in bed reading,
they
you
really
can look at it.
Yeah, they really do. L&M. I want to send some more things. I've enjoyed framing myself, but I noticed the padding. I think they add a lot more padding, and it's almost like mounded. Like
looks good.
It just looks. I don't get glass on. It looks really good.
I forgot to do this. I love how when everybody holds up their frames, we're all go like this. Well, maybe most of us.
I'll get the dust off.
Most of us who don't dust regularly.
All right, my next one was finished in 2023, but just framed this year. And this also came from L&M Framing. And this was my New Year's Day start for 2023. Oh, let me show the pattern. And it's Winter Comes from Heartstring Samplery. And they had a full sampler with a verse. I did the smaller. And you can find out more about this one in episode 51.
I think this frame is perfection for this piece. It has some...
Yes, it's the two-tone brown. When I think about this one, first of all, I think about our trip to Acorns and Threads and seeing our sister Susan up there. And I loved this border. I loved stitching that border.
It's one of the prettiest borders around. And remember when you were at the store, you were looking for it, and Janine said, I think we have one more left or something. It was just perfect.
It caught my eye, and this was done through the Facebook group. They were selling this as an exclusive. And I think that time had already passed, but they still had like one more in stock. So I got the whole kit for that.
And this is what we were learning too. We were learning that some designers live close to famous cross stitch stores. Like Beth Twist lives in Oregon.
I think Acorns and Thread is like her local shop.
And then we've got our Arizona designers next to the attic. And you wonder how much of that helps the designer in the store keep going.
I love this too because it really feels like you feel that winter air.
I can smell the smoke.
Yeah.
Coming out of the chimney.
All right.
I agree.
Winter comes. Really like that piece a lot. It reminds me, I do want to now send a couple things back to Ellen and Framey. I really have liked everything that they've done.
I think we took a pause because they took a pause over the summer, and we got to get back on it.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. Winter comes, and then Sweetness of Spring is the next one for Carolyn.
All right, and details about Sweetness of Spring are in episode 53. This was the Birds and Berries Pinkeep Club by Scattered Seed Samplings. This was one, it finishes as a round. And our sister Susan had given us these baskets for Christmas last year. And it just fit perfectly in the basket.
Looks so good.
It looks so good. I like it too because my round, I guess I have finished something round. I should have put a piece of cardboard in here or something because my edges, might not be too late to kind of work on that a little bit more.
You can glue some rickrack on.
I could do,
we're really...
Oh, the way you did rickrack on Scary 2.
I think it would look good on maybe a little red.
Maybe. But for right now, it's sitting in this basket very nicely. So Sweetness of Spring. Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
GBH.
Let me just get the pattern up. The next one is GBH 1857 by Modern Folk Embroidery. Here's the pattern. And this was stitched as part of Carmen's of Cardamom Pins. She did a Jacob Sleeper Sal, sort of in late spring last year. And when I finished this, it just reminded me of our sister Joan. So I personalized it with her initials and birth year. And I just gave it to her. She was just visiting. So I don't have it anymore, but I'll insert a photo of it here. And you can find out more details about this one in episode 53 as well.
As her visit was coming to a close, she was like, I wonder where I'm going to find what's the spot in my house going to be for this?
When I think about this one, I really enjoyed that stitch along that Carmen did. I really loved seeing everybody that participated, the different things they came up with. And she was a really wonderful host. Like she would talk about what people did and show photos of them along the way too. So that was really fun. And that was really neat finishing something and go like, this is Joan. And then putting those initials on and giving her that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to watch her open it. It was fun. All right. The next one is the Feathered Nest Pin Book, and I could not find the pattern. It was a Katie Strachan kit. And this is the front. And this is the back. Loved, might be like that. Loved stitching this. I think oh yeah. I've got the hang of goblins now. So I'm feeling really good about 103 and goblins now. And Surfine. And I do not think I'm going to make it into something that opens. I think I'm going to finish both and maybe try stitching the two together. I haven't tried that, and I haven't tried a curved needle before. Maybe some beads will go on the side. I don't know.
Do you think you'd put a little hanger on it so it hangs?
I think I'll put a little loop at the top. And I'll probably display it in the spring. But who knows?
Yeah, you definitely want it to be shown in a way that you can see both sides, because I love that unexpectedness of organic on one and then the geometric on the other. But I think if you hung it on something where you could really see both sides.
I'm showing the back. Yeah, that is a really good point, though, because I was sort of envisioning it sort of laying in a basket or something.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's the nice thing about a three-dimensional object that you're picking up and using, is you're seeing both sides.
These are just my favorite things to stitch. I love geometric patterns. I love flora and fauna.
Mm-hmm.
So get on that, Anna.
You got to get your FFO going. Okay, you're up again.
Oh, I made a little pillow that is part of this 3-part pattern it's called Inspired by Nature by Quaint Rose Needle Arts. And it has a really big sampler, which I've started and sewed those 2 pieces of linen together. And it has this exceptionally cool bird. And then it has this little pin pillow, which is basically a little alphabet with it's like a ladybug and some plants and things. And one of my grandchildren, some kids just really like the alphabet. She really likes the alphabet. I want to stitch her a little alphabet sampler. And the back of it is yellow fabric, Charlie Harper fabric with little bunnies, because she loves bunnies too. Do we have a picture of it? I don't know.
We do.
Okay, great. This pattern is gorgeous. Take another look at this pattern if you haven't considered it. And the 3, I love. I don't just like, I love all 3.
I totally want to do that one.
Well, if I'm stalled long enough, I think you could borrow it and give it back. This big sampler, not only are there 2 pieces of linen stitched together, but this and this are patches that you sew and then separately, and then you sew onto the
Really creative. It's really creative. Make the patch and sew it on your jacket, jean jacket, your bag, tote bag. Cool. It's beautiful.
What's next?
All right, my next is a finish. I have not yet FFO'd this, and this is probably my favorite, one of my favorites of the year. And it's Emeline Hotchkiss, 1846. And there's such a fantastic story behind this in so many ways. And you can learn more, episode 53. I would have talked more about it. And here is the piece. And one thing I will repeat, and I think this is what there's so many things I loved about this project, but I personalized it for our maternal grandmother, whose first name is Quill. And then there are 3 of her descendants that have the middle name of Quill. So I put, she's in the cartouche, and then the 3 of us are up in the top part. And I also, this is one of my first ones that I put my mark down in the bottom, which is not surprisingly a Q. I think a lot of quills were attached to that Q. So let me get this closer. And there's so many layers of wonderful stories behind this piece.
That's one of my favorite things you've made too.
Yeah, I think
the colors.
I think I'm gonna get this one. I was debating how to finish it. I was thinking maybe hem stitching it and then getting it on a linen back. But I think I'm gonna maybe take it to professional framer. My husband used a local framer to get some photographs framed. He's just this old dude. And I'm wondering, that was not very kind the way I said that, was it? But as I said, he was just like framed for years. So I might see if he does any needlework too.
Great.
Oh,
unless you want to practice, you might want to do more of a test piece, because this is.
Yeah. Well, I might lace it myself.
Then no
and
problem.
then take it in and have him frame it.
No problem then.
Oh, I mean, if you want to know anything more, please go to 53. There's a lot of story behind this one. Oh, just
beautiful color choices.
Just makes me so happy. Okay. All right, my next one is a knitting item, and it was a pair of socks I made. I've made 2. In fact, I'm wearing the other pair right now. These are Coffee Talk socks. I love this pattern. The designer is Tracy Miller. If you are a knitter, she's one of the grocery girls, and I think if you're a knitter, you know who they are. This pattern, I just love the texture, really simple. And here is, it's gonna be hard to see because it's dark, but here is one of the 2 socks. And it has this really fabulous texture. And to learn more about these socks, that was in episode 54 this year. And I do have 2. All right. Next next up is I'm working slowly through the years on the summer salt boxes. This is Lauren of the New Hampshire Stitcher. Had a Sal maybe at this point 2 years ago, but I'm still working through it and I love these. So this year I had already finished this one. This year, this summer, I finished the second salt box. Oh, I brought the wrong one over. Pause. The summer salt boxes. Here it is. All of these, I'm finishing them consistently as a tile finish with a little bit of wool on the back. And you can find out more about this one in episode 54.
All right, our next finish is these little cross-stitch buttons made by, the company is Cosmo. I cannot find them online, and several people asked where I got them. We just can't find them. They just may be gone. So sorry. Sorry to show something that you may not be able to get. Although, couldn't you design that yourself if you really want to do it? Anyway, this was something I took with me when I was traveling a little bit this summer because I could see this Ada without a magnifier light and just had so much fun. Each of the blues is a little bit different, and of course each of the patterns is different, and they will be pulled around sort of a very minor dome, like it's not a big dome, so to be sort of button-like, but I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with them.
They're really cool. What is did you have a fun memory?
When I think of it as just I think of the summer visits and like sitting out on one of my dear friends' patios. We're having our morning coffee, and I brought her a cross-stitch kit, so we're out there.
Seriously?
We're out there cross-stitching.
You've done a good job finding ways to make your cross-stitch portable.
That's one of the things I explored this year. That's in my thumbs up. Mm-hmm. And I still, well, I'll talk more about it at the end of the video. The next thing is I learned to hem stitch when Jacob released his hem stitch booklet. And I had this little Christmas piece, which I'm almost sure is a free piece by Pineberry Lane, but just in case I'll cover. It's called a Merry Christmas Red Work Sampler, Pineberry Lane 2012. Mm-hmm. I have a printout of it, which makes me think it was a freebie that I downloaded.
It was just a chart. Mm-hmm.
So I stitched that with an MPI variegated thread. This really is one of the first things I stitched when we were cross-stitching. Mm-hmm. 2020 Stitcher. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to call that a fully finished because I learned to hem stitch and use that as my practice piece.
That's awesome. Good. More about that in episode 55. The next one is a sweater I knit this year, and it is the Marble Mount Sweater by Joji Locatelli. And you can find out more about this in episode 56. And here is, I forgot I should have worn it today. Here is my sweater.
The best. This is one of my favorites. Aww.
I love the yoke on this, and it has that lace design.
And the color.
Imagine. It is a good all-purpose sweater. So it's Marble Mount. And one thing I love about that, I just love knitting sweaters. And I think there's rarely a day I have one top that I don't wear a sweater with. Really from probably October to March, almost like all year, I wear a sweater every day. And I'm noticing some of my older sweaters, they are starting to really wear and are getting toward the end of their lives or their...
Yeah, you've said that a couple of times.
And it's just fun, like almost every year trying to knit another sweater to kind of keep the rotation going. Although I love them so much, it's going to be really hard to be like...
To decide you're really done with one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be hard. Maybe I'll make like a pillow or something out of it. Who knows?
Or you'll keep mending it and keep wearing it.
Okay.
I got a little string here.
This is another one that was a really highlight for me this year. I'm calling this Yaya Sampler, and find out more about this in episode 56 because this has a lot of story behind it. That's a photo of an original sampler from my husband's side of the family, in-law, and I charted it myself. And where is Yaya Sampler? Where are you, Yaya? Here it is. It is.
It's breathtaking.
I can't tell you how fun it was to stitch, how amazing it was. And this one, I've still been thinking about how to really FFO it. And what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to definitely hem stitch it because this one was finished with a sort of binding edge. And then I'm going to have it tacked down to like a linen wrapped board. So
that's an idea you need to.
Yeah. There's another framing shop in downtown Palo Alto that I've seen. They did another fiber. So I'm going to go talk to them, and I might do the hem stitch and tack it down to the linen laced board myself and then have them frame it. But I'm going to go talk to them, and I'm willing to spend some money. I'm going to spend some money, friends. I'm willing to spend some money to really get this one finished correctly.
Because you've had that vision for a while, so maybe this is the year.
Yeah, and I think part of it, I'm just stalled a little bit because I want to keep working on my hem stitch before I do this one. So I want to get Jacob's tutorial. I've done one hem stitch and I was pretty happy with it, but I think I'd like one more practice before I did this one. Okay, that was Yaya's sampler. And the next one, this was really fun. This was the sweater I knit for our family wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just going to insert a photo of Anna and me at the wedding, and I'm wearing the sweater. She's looking fabulous. The pattern comes out of this book, Coco Knits. I think it's called Sweater Workshop, and you can find out a lot more about this. This is the second time I've knit this sweater, and it was in episode 59 for that. And here is my sweater. And just a couple things. Well, things I think about when I see this sweater. Just knitting it for the event was so fun. Just knitting something special for a special wedding. It's cropped because that's how much time I had.
Well, that's not the only reason.
And it looked cute.
Your dress.
And it looked cute. And I had to reknit one of this from about here down on one of the sleeves because it had gotten candle wax like all in it.
It's so funny
at the event. So this one has lots of fun memories to it.
We're still talking about it when we were together over the holidays. We can't stop talking about that wedding.
It was such a great wedding. Oh, let's keep it going. And then my next one was both a finish and an FFO this year, and it was North Pole by Kathy Barrick. And here he is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Memories of this. A good memory is Olivia B at Hillside Rookery had the floss pack for this, and it was just always fun getting a floss pack from her. That was great. And I just was so happy knitting all of the stuff around Santa because I think Santa's so happy being with all the trees and reindeers.
Stitching all that.
This was another highlight this year.
Yeah, when I was working on mine in December, I was like, is it trees or is it Santa tonight?
Yeah. And you can find out more about this in episode 59. God, 59, we had a lot of good stuff in. That's a good one.
You must have been incredibly productive. I have one in 59.
I think I was going in ways where I was ordering some frames, so then there was like a bunch of FFOs. All right, so when is that?
Around the same time as when I got Scarlet Berries back. I had this framed at the attic by Sandy. Again, very similar process where she texted me some choices. And when I send my samplers off, I just get a little poster roll box, a rectangular prism kind of box, long, thin box, and I roll up my piece and pop it in there. They sell them at the post office, a couple bucks. It works. That's my favorite way to send off a sampler. This, when I think of this, it's really, really meaningful. Carolyn's husband has done a lot of research on our maternal line, and so all of the initials in here are our maternal line back to, I can't remember the earliest date.
Like 1720.
Yeah. And then I included my sisters up here and my daughter-in-law and my granddaughter in that family. This is the one I started in January 2024.
So was that your New Year's Day start?
Mm-hmm.
That was.
I like to start a sampler.
This has so many layers of fantastic stories behind it.
This is a keeper for me because of all the meaning. Scarlet Berries.
Our niece, who's a dancer, she did a master's or her thesis, I think, when she graduated, and it was about like memories in a box and about how things or movements can have memories. So I think that's why sometimes things are precious to us. It's not the thing itself that's precious. It's like all the memories that it brings back to you.
Definitely.
Instead of just looking at a photo, you can look at an object. All right, continuing with my Saltbox theme. I'm working on the autumn Saltboxers. Saltboxers. And this one is the one I finished. And with these, I finished them in FFO. I'm like right away. And this one is still a whip in process for next year. And here is that finish. And what I remember about this one is it has a little bit right there of over one. And I procrastinated and I procrastinated. And then I did it and it was not that bad. So I'm now feeling much more confident about over one.
How many things in life are like that? A lot.
I know. You spend more time procrastinating and worrying about it than actually what it was. And I'll say this every time I show one of these. I love these. I love these so much. I love how they look like Polaroid photos. It's a great amount of stitching. They all have their own personality. The pairing always looks good. And now that I have enough kind of, before I was just leaving anything I made out. I didn't care what season it was.
Yeah.
But now I have enough that like I'm trying to put like, I have like maybe 2 or 3 things for different seasons. I have them kind of wrapped up in like spring, summer.
And then how do you store them?
I have them right now. I have them in a drawer in one of our bedrooms that used to be in the boys' rooms. But I think I do want to find some sort of like archival box. And right now I wrap them up in archival tissue and have them in a drawer. But I think that's what I'm going to do.
Great.
I'd love to hear if anybody has a way that they store things safely. I would love to hear about that. More details about that salt box is in episode 59. The next one was, I got so in. Again, this is also in episode 59. I could not get enough of these. I had so much fun. I made 3 of these this year, and I finished them as little tiles with magnets on the back. And I'll actually just quickly put a picture of them. We have a little metal lip on the top of our fireplace, and our granddaughters are always putting different magnet things on it. So here are those little finishes. And they just have a little bit of felt on the back, and underneath here, I glued a good strong magnet. This one, the glue, one of them is already shifting. I just used Eileen's glue, and I think I'm gonna pull them out and just do a good old glue gun.
What do you mean shifting?
Like it fell down a little bit.
The magnet?
Here, the magnet's down here.
Oh,
no, it's of the cat. Yeah, the magnet. So I'll just have to take the felt off, the wool felt. I'm gonna cover it, and it looks like.
When you did these, this is when you were like, you will not guess what I did. You had me guess.
I know. I'm like, this is so off-brand for me, but I love it so much. I'm going to keep doing it. I will keep stitching these. And it also makes me want to do more kind of like just little seasonal fun doodahs because the girls have enjoyed these so much. In fact, the first time they came in the house, they're like, ah, look what's on the fireplace.
Some grandmothers make cookies. Some grandmothers make little cross-stitch things.
John then got him a bunch of their little rubber people, and their hands and feet are magnets, so you can put them together in all these different ways. And that's been a huge favorite right now.
So just magnets are fun.
Magnets are fun for them. Yeah. Okay.
Cute.
Boo to you. Next is Merry Old Soul. This I stitched it in 2022, but had not finished it. By Brenda Giray.
I have the yawns.
Yeah. And then because I had put in the wrong dimensions for a frame, I had an extra frame, and I'm like, oh, he's going to fit in there. And let me tell you, he looks fantastic in this frame. I had him displayed out by the front door, like a little ledge right by our front door for his Christmas. And didn't he look good there?
You were great.
He looks so good.
It's such a good example of something didn't work, but then you're like, well, how can I use this?
Yeah, I just went into all my piles of finishes that have not been FFO'd, and he was in fact, it fit really well. And you can find out more about him and the frame, etc. in episode 60. I should say we had 20 some episodes this year. I think they went from episode 41 to episode 62. So we're getting toward the end of the year now. Okay.
Forgot the pattern of this one. but it is scary too. And I made it into a little pillow. I love this thing so much.
I do too. Your rickrack was a winner, how you tacked it down.
That's what I think of when I think of this. I was inspired by one of Olivia of Pumpkin Hollow Quilts finishes. And I think I've only glued things around the edge before I did this. And black's a good color to do because you cannot even see the tacking stitch at all.
And did you tack it on the front and the back?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I like the way that the 1/2 inch rickrack is like going around. So maybe if I use 1/4 inch, I'm going to glue, and if I use 1/2 inch, I'm going to tack. But I had this with a few fake acorns, a little glass pumpkin, and a little bowl in the fall, and like that one.
Yeah.
Scary too.
Was that a Plum Street? I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
My next one is Shades of Pumpkin by Needle Treasures Nook. When I think of this, I just think of how much I like things all lined up. I like collages too, but this one, I also think of, this is the first thing I wet blocked. It's all done in DMC.
Oh!
And it got so much flatter. Oh my gosh, look at this compared to
I know.
So I think I'm going to get a walnut, just a walnut frame from Signed and Number.
Yeah.
And I have the basting stitches a 1/2 inch out instead of a 1/4 inch out just because of that border.
Yeah.
And maybe I can have that ready for next fall.
Yeah. I think that would look really good in a walnut frame. And for anybody that hasn't tried wet blocking before, if your materials allow for it, so they're typically the over-dyed cottons are not always color fast, but silks and DMCs typically are. Katie Strackett recently did a newer video. She has a really detailed one for her harmony boxes, but then even in the last 2 months, she did one where she was blocking a small using that wet blocking technique. It really makes a difference. And I also feel like when you go to lace then, at least for me, I tend to overstretch my lacing, I think trying to get things flat. But if it's been wet blocked, it's already flat.
I was amazed. I mean, like I said, I know I stitch tightly, so sometimes I get a little warping, but it was sort of the getting rid of the bubbles that surprised me the most. I mean, you had told me that, but the experience was great. And Katie Strachan's directions are fantastic.
Yes. All right, my next one was the second installment in the Birds and Berries series, and this is called Sweet Reward Pinkeep. And this was, you got supplies to finish it as a pillow, but I finished mine sort of as a little quilt top, and I have it sitting in my stitching tray. And highlight for me, I love this thing. I love so much having a piece in my stitching tray. Somehow it just makes it cozy. I don't know what it is.
Also, the scissors land so nicely on something soft.
Yeah. And here, I'm just going to insert a photo of the tray with the items on the tray. And details about this, and I talk a little bit about how I did the 1/4 inch binding on this, and that is in episode 61. So more details on that one. And I'm really looking forward to stitching the 3rd installment. I got that pattern in November, but it didn't kind of fit in with my festive stitching, how into that I was. Okay,
Great.
all right, now we're kind of coming to our last episode, kind of bringing it in.
I couldn't find the pattern for this either. I must have a little stack of patterns somewhere. Some things got moved around when we had guests. A Christmas pin pillow, which is a small Kathy Barrett Christmas pattern from last year or the year before. And it's framed in a signed by numbered frame. So this is, when I think of this, I think of, first of all, hashtag Kathy Barrett Fan Club, how much fun I had stitching this and how much I love the design. And it was my first time ordering a frame. And it was really satisfying.
She had a nice little vignette on her fireplace. The photo I think I have is just on your fireplace. So if you have a more recent one, send it to me. And it's hard to see how small this is. Like, I think you can see it more when it's back here. I think whenever you put something up here, it feels great. It is so awesome.
It's cute.
It's so awesome.
There's a little ledge on I have 2 little ledges that are built into the fireplace, and so it just sits on one of those little ledges.
I think that's one of my favorite things you've done and finished.
I agree.
Were those the called for colors?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they were Weeks Dye Works. They were overdyed cottons, which I feel like Kathy Barrick often uses MPIs. Or the things I've stitched of hers have used MPIs. So I was a little surprised by that.
You have a few here.
Oh, I did this blue Santa, Americana Santas, 2 holiday pin keeps by the Humble Stitcher. Sent this to my son-in-law. Probably will do the red one for him next year. He sent me a sweet picture of it hanging on the tree. It's tiny, and adorable.
Yeah.
And that was fun.
And here, we'll put a picture right here of her finish.
Oh, and you're right. The next one is a couple of things from the Nordic Holiday, the Prairie Schooler chart. And as I was visiting and as I had visitors, first I did this reindeer. And then I'm working on this horse, and I'm doing fill-in the white on this one just to sort of see which I like, which I prefer. And I've ordered some white wool felt. Thinking of.
Do you have a feeling which one you like better?
I think I prefer this. What about you?
I really like it filled in.
So I'll probably go back and fill this in. This is the really bright white, the DMC,
I mean, it might also be like, do you want to, because you really won't see anything about the perforated paper except for your edging. So it may also depend, does somebody want the perforated paper to be part of the design element?
Right.
Or not?
So yeah, maybe I'll keep one of each. I was just curious about perforated paper, and it's big enough for me to see without a magnifier. So again, exploring things I can do in my lap without my full-on setup.
And it might be interesting to not fill in one and see what it's like when you put the wool felt behind it and kind of use it as a comparison.
Yeah, we'll see.
Those are great.
Really, I mean, I really, really like these patterns. I think I will do more. I'm going to do a tiny one, I think.
Yeah, I would love for you to do I think you were thinking about doing one on 56 count. Okay. The next one is a FO, but not an FFO, and it's We Santa 2023. And there was a lot of discussion of how to actually FFO these, and I'm going to do them as flat folds. And here is this one. Them.
You have an idea.
I have an idea. This was my amuse. I started this right the day after Thanksgiving. It was got me in the holiday spirit, and I'm going to totally do at least next year. In fact, I think I want to kit it up now.
Good idea.
I have it all ready to go so that day after Thanksgiving, just pull it out and go. One thing I love when looking at this, I keep thinking that Santa went to sleep and woke up and it was spring and he is like really disoriented for that. But I'm guessing probably those flowers are meant to be poinsettia, but I still think of him as in like a field of spring flowers for that. Okay. My next one was something I stitched, I think in 2023. Was that the year we went up to visit Susan? Did I have it on here? No, 2022.
Yeah, it's 2 years ago.
And it was this llama from the Blue Flower. I did that one. Holiday card 2021. And I framed it. I ordered a colored frame from Signed and Numbered, and it's really interesting ordering color because the color is not right. And it's nothing about Signed and Numbered when I was looking at the colors. But I really like it in a colored frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece to like Michael's and try to pick a paint that's similar and paint over it because it's laced, it fits in this frame. So I'm going to see if I can sort of salvage the color by painting over it. If anybody has painted frames before, has any suggestions, or will I be able to paint this? Should I prime it first and then paint over it? Please share your expertise with me. I'd love to hear about it. But I love this piece. And when I think about this piece, we were stitching it in Portland, visiting our sister Susan. And I love how jaunty that llama is. And I love all the light bulbs. And you can find out more about the stitching of this in episode 16. That's when I was stitching it. That one. That is going to eventually go to one of the granddaughter families once I get everything right on that one. The next one is turkey trot. It's from this book, Autumn at Not Forgotten Farm. If I can find the pattern. There is the Not Forgotten Farm version. This was my birthday start for 2023. And I essentially used the palette I had for the Reverend Gordon Squash Bottom and just put colors wherever I wanted. I wasn't even following the symbols. People have asked me for the conversion, but it really isn't one. And I got this frame. This was the piece that I ordered the wrong size frame.
That's right.
And then I reordered it for this. And I just think it looks fantastic. And it looks so good next to the Reverend. So they're hanging out together right now in the room where I store our stitching supplies. And I can't wait to pull those out fall time. So fun.
You can put it here.
Okay. Piling up. The second to last was one I just framed. I finished stitching it a while ago, and this was Weeds and Wildflowers by the Artsy Housewife. This was done for Carolyn of Evertote, her birthday start. It was July 7th.
Mm-hmm.
And they supplied, Carrie both dyed the linen and dyed the floss, and then Gigi did the design. This was probably, again, one of my favorites of the year. And I have a signed and numbered. Again, I got a colored frame for that. And this is their Pee-wee frame. And this was done in navy blue. I wish it was like a touch darker, but it's still good. And I love sitting next to the Pretty Bird one. Looks so good.
Oh,
so
did you already move that?
I already moved it back to the room. So I kind of think if it warrants it, I think a lot of the Artsy Housewives I'm going to do in these very thin colored frames and then kind of hang them together. The colors in this, the color of the floss is incredible. It just, everything
so
about
enjoyable.
it. Everything about it. Yeah. One thing that was interesting, once I framed it, I hadn't noticed this design element before, but there's a bit of negative space up in this corner. So it's funny, after I framed it, I'm like, whoa, wait, it looks off-centered. But I'm like, oh, no. It's just the spacing of that border around. So good. I just posted this on Instagram, and I'm like, Caroline, can we celebrate your birthday every year? It's so fun.
That's great.
And then my very last piece of the year was an ornament that I have since gifted. And here's a photo of it. And I'll see, I also filmed a little video right when I finished it before I gifted it. I'll see how it flows into this. I may or may not include this. But what it was is I took a motif from Through the Bitter Frost and Snow by Modern Folk Embroidery.
So pretty.
It's this incredible large piece. But the large piece was originally done, he first I think originally was going to make lots of smalls, but put it together in a big piece. So I pulled out that motif, and then a lot of the other little star motifs I used as background texture. So again, I'll put the photo up again. And I used 2 greens. One was a Goblin, one was a 103, and then the background was just, I think, Creme 103 for that. And that capped off our year. Wow.
We were a little surprised by how much was finished. Yeah. Because we're both, well, you have spurts, I think, more than I do. Mm-hmm. But we're both kind of slow and steady. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing what can happen.
I know. So whatever I encourage you to go back and can you find or have you recorded what you did this year and kind of take a moment and maybe gather it or find the photos. It was really fun to see it all together and think about all the memories of the year and how just like a little bit, we stitch almost every day. It's not always a lot. It's not always every day. But it all adds up. Mm-hmm. And just some of the pieces, I still have a big pile of finishes that are not FFO, but it is encouraging. Like, I think this year we both took some older things and got them framed or got them finished, and that felt really good. Also,
I can feel the skills building.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, for sure. All right, Anna, we're just doing a time check. We've been probably going about an hour. Do we want to save our plans and talk about those with our whips?
I'll leave that up to you because you've done more thinking about that.
Maybe let's just do them quickly, but I'm not going to talk a lot. I've done a lot of thinking, so I have a lot of stuff here, but let's maybe just talk at a high level.
Okay.
So there's some top things. Okay.
All right.
So kind of looking forward now to 2025.
One thing I want to do soon is start a little sampler. And I have both of these kitted. Anna Grader by the Scarlet House.
Oh, and I love that one.
These are the colors. It's funny. Yeah, it's a good one. And then Gracie Palmer, 1867 by Needle Made Designs. And this one I have a first attempt at a silk conversion. So these are the DMC. And I have a bunch of 103s to try.
Oh.
I love them both. And I'm really not sure which one I'm going to start. I guess this one wasn't actually a tiny sampler, but I like starting a small sampler in January. I call it my blessing sampler, but I don't think of it in the way that a lot of people do, or, you finish it in January and you need a will be blessed all year. I just think of it as sort of a beautiful way to start the year.
And it's kind of a nice goal to see. Like, I love how you got it completely FFO'd this year.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe I'll have the answer to that. And then the other thing I've been thinking about now for months is I'm going to do a deep dive into one designer. And we'll talk more about it later. But I've chosen Not Forgotten Farm. And we have that book that you just held up.
And may add that to your
I want to leave this little guy with you. But we have quite a few Not Forgotten Farm patterns to start. Many of the ones that I'm attracted to at first have to do with seasons, but I'm also really looking through Lori Brecklin's collection. She has some beautiful little samplers too. So I've just recently ordered some non-holiday related or season related pieces because I'd like to do a combination of some seasonal and some.
I love that, Anne. And are you thinking, are you going to just kind of have one going all the time? Do you now kind of know?
Yep, and I think I might, who knows, I might do some silk conversions or something, but I might also just get a nice collection of DMCs. There's definitely some DMC repeats in some of her patterns, and just kind of, I have this beautiful bag from Becky of Becky's House of Sewing. So I think this is going to be maybe my home base. And I'll talk more about that idea when we really go into, once I start something.
Okay. So I have 5 themes.
Cracks me up.
5 things for 2025. I'm just going to say I'm really high level, and as we kind of go through 2025, if I keep doing them, I'll talk more about them.
Yeah.
All right. Theme number 1 is explore an inspiring designer. Just like Anna is thinking about Not Forgotten Farm, I would like to explore. My inspiring designer is going to be the artsy housewife. So for that. The next theme for me is channel the tortoise. And I want to do a few things where I just am slow and steady for that. One of the things is I'm going to be working on that Kathy Barrick sampler that you showed.
Okay.
Slow and steady.
I still wasn't sure. Are you going to dive in or not?
Oh, I'm probably going to dive in. And the other thing is was really inspired by Katie Strachan, who did 12 Christmas ornaments over the course of the year, 1 a month. She called it her 12 by 12. So I'm going to be doing something similar. I want to try to do 12 ornaments in one a month for that. So that's my channel, the tortoise. The next is Stitch Family History as a theme. And it's now time I feel like I'm really ready. I want to dig in and stitch a big matrilineal line sampler, kind of following off those initials that Anna had, but I'm going to stitch each woman's full name and her birth and if she has a death date, a death date. And to do this, because it's going to be a big piece, I'm actually going to experiment with using scroll bars and getting some kind of either lap frame or floor frame. I kind of want floor frame, but I just don't think our house has the real estate for that. So I think I'm going to go with a lap frame for that. So that's the theme. My 4th theme is keep the queue moving. So it's funny when I went back to, and we'll do our whip parade next. This year, most things I started, I finished or I'm on the way to finishing. A lot of my whips are things that are lingering. So anything that's more than a year old, I'm going to pull one out and it's going to stay out in my rotation until it's finished and then pull the next one out. So
wow.
And for those lingering whips, I'm also going to decide this year, there are already 2 I know I'm not going to finish. So I'm going to declare it then either I'm going to finish it or not. So I'm keeping the queue moving. And then lastly, I just want to keep up with I'm curious. And one thing I'm curious about and want to explore this year is thinking about the crossover between knitting and cross stitch and how charts in both of those textile fiber arts complement each other and how to kind of mix and match with those.
Great.
So those are my, we'll see if the themes continue, but it's always fun to kind of start with something and then kind of see where those ideas take you.
Yeah. Even just prepping for today made me wish that I documented even more throughout the year of 2024 to see the themes we're about to talk about, our thumbs up for the year, to make those themes a little more obvious.
Yeah.
So we referred to it already, but I feel like in 2024, one of my thumbs up is really exploring different ways to stitch, particularly when I'm on vacation or I have visitors and I'm not under my magnifying lamp, which I love, and I love my setup and I'm so cozy, but there's just times when I want my hands to be busy. So I think perforated paper is working for me the best so far, and I want to try another piece on that. Maybe not something like not a little Christmas small, but something like maybe a small sampler or something like that.
And I think we have a pattern. When I was looking through our patterns, that is designed to be on perforated paper.
Okay, dig that out for me before I go home.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I also really did quite a bit of 56 count stitching this year. And obviously I need to be under my magnifier for that, but I really like that. So tiny stitching, I feel very comfortable with it. I really like surfing. And what's my third thumbs up? Oh, I just like the part of crafting where you just sort of envision like that my basket idea, stitch a basket every 2 months. And then every time I'm at a cross stitch store, looking through the charts and looking at samplers and do they have beautiful baskets on them? And even if I don't, I mean, I have a little bit of a disappointment that I don't have 6 baskets done, but I got so much satisfaction out of it that it was still really fun.
I think sometimes the thinking and the planning and having like a lens when you're going in and looking at cross stitch supplies, it's just fun in itself. I mean, that's why I think people have stashes. It's as much to think about things and plan things as part of the art form.
Yeah. So I'm going to call that one of my themes because I've had a really good time thinking about the Not Forgotten Farm theme for this year. Carolyn, your thumbs up.
All right, so my 2024 cross-stitch thumbs up. First of all, I think the thumbs up, and we talk about this a lot, is the cross-stitch community. I am constantly inspired, engaged, encouraged.
We are all so nice, aren't we?
But people are also give good feedback, and it's just fantastic. And I love that there's so many different ways to participate in the community.
I do too.
Are you do you like to view, look at Instagram? Do you post? Do you stitch? How do you contribute?
And the different things that people like and
and so I just think that is just fantastic. Let's all just keep doing what works for us but keep sharing it in whatever way works best for us. I think it's just so inspiring. I love it. I think that's one thing that has really kept me going with cross stitch.
It's a big statement, Carolyn.
It's a big statement, I know. And this is a side note, but I'm really hoping, and I hope Anna's going to come too, go to our first retreat this year too. That's kind of building on that community.
Hope we get in.
Yeah. The next thing my second thumbs up is I am a confident pin stitch starter. Not an ender. I still tuck my thread under, but I feel really good about the pin stitch, and I almost always start that way. And I'm also no longer afraid of over one. So thumbs up for me there. I'm really happy about that. And then the last thing is I just want to give thumbs up about when something you make brings another person joy. That to me is incredible. And I'm going to put this photo up. We had a Christmas Eve big dinner, a big feast. And once everybody had left, I looked over at this chair. It was kind of tucked in the corner. And I don't know which one of my granddaughters had taken her dinosaur stuffy, one of the dinosaur stuffies, and used my cross-stitch pillow and the Pennsylvania Dutch marking sampler to be a pillow and blanket and tucked this dinosaur in. And I just love that. It's one
of the most darling things
I left
seen.
it like that for a couple of days because it's just that's what, making something by hand is really all about.
And having it be used sometimes in unexpected ways.
Yeah, having things being used in unexpected ways. So everybody, that's our 2024 in review cross stitch, and we're looking forward to 2025. We'll have some whip parades coming up. and then kind of get back into our normal swing of things.
Right.
So just want to wish everybody a happy new year, 2025, 45 squared.
Joy to you in 2025.
And let's just
Happy New Year.
keep creating, everybody. All right. Till
Until
next time.
Happy crafting.
And stay curious.
Bye.